Jeremi says that we've begun what often looks like a path to war, which is to say the Syrian government did something absolutely horrible. We reacted to that with force. They are likely to respond with another act of force of their own, another chemical attack, another attack on civilians. The Russian government, which is supportive of the Syrian government, is likely to react. And in the past, in Vietnam, in Iraq, and elsewhere, this has led to what we call an escalation ladder, where tit for tat response and reaction leads us to more and more warfare. And I think there's a very high probability that within 6 months, there'll be American soldiers on the ground in Syria.
For Joe and Jane Texan, who have not been paying attention to the Syrian conflict, it's been going on for a while, but why should they know about it and why should they care?
This is of absolute vital importance, what's happening in Syria, to every single American for 3 reasons. First of all, this involves our use of military force in a very dangerous area where there is a high probability of extended violence that could lead to the deaths of many Americans, American civilians and Americans in uniform, some of whom are already in the region in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. Second, this is very expensive. Warfare looks inexpensive when you watch it on TV, but it's actually quite expensive. The amount of money spent last night on the cruise missile attacks is about half the amount of money in the budget for the arts that President Trump wants to cut. So we spent half of our arts budget, our national arts budget last night. Third reason that this is really important is it affects domestic politics. We're in a very controversial political environment now, and one of the big controversies is about the connection between Russia and Donald Trump's campaign and his administration. The Russians are strong supporters of Syria. Our involvement in Syria involves Russia as well, so this is part of our domestic politics as well. So the history of warfare is actually the history of small peripheral conflicts pulling in bigger powers, and the bigger powers finding themselves at war in those areas. This has happened repeatedly in American history. That's the story of World War I. It's also the story of the Korean War. Most Americans did not want to go to war in Korea in 1950. We were pulled in by a conflict between North and South Korea, Vietnam, and in fact Persian Gulf War I, which was a conflict between Iraq and Kuwait. So what we should watch for is not a direct attack from Russia on the United States or vice versa, but instead a localized conflict where we're on the opposite side of another major power and pretty soon find ourselves, as happened in Korea and Vietnam, fighting against another major power.